Right, right. Hey guys, good evening. My name is Mr. Margoletta. We are doing a live feed tonight, so that's why we're using the microphone. So that way parents who are coming tonight, they can also watch it online. All right? Like I said, my name is Mr. Margoletta, Jeff Margoletta, along with Doug Bertram. We co-coordinate the trip. So we're going to share some information with you this evening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us after the meeting. Because I'm sure some of the parents have the same question. Feel free to email us. Feel free to, if you need to set up a conference, whatever we need to do so we can communicate this message to you. Okay? Mr. Bircher's going to start off with our itinerary.
All right, well, thanks for coming out today. Still decked out my brown stuff too, so that's a good day for that. Smaller group in person, but I have to go through my usual routine here. First of all, show of hands, how many parents here actually went on the Dover, DC trip? I'll use my running joke I use every year. Mr. Margoletta was on the very first DC trip. Never gets old, never gets on that one.
1980.
But, the reason I bring it up, I also went on the DC trip as well. Honestly, I guess it's a personal thing, but for me, I remember more things about my DC trip than I do about high school graduation and some other things that went along the way. So it's just, it's a great memory, it's a great opportunity, and, we're hoping to get that opportunity to your sons and daughters this year as well. Why do DC trips come with the 8th graders? Well, that's the content we learn about history. I'm the 8th grade social studies teacher, and we're learning about American history, American government, and there's just so many teachable moments throughout the year where I'll show kids things in the Capitol building, things in the Supreme Court steps, and I'm like, we're going to be there on this day, we're going to be there on this day, and just seeing their eyes kind of light up a little bit, making those connections, is just kind of a neat thing that goes along with this trip. So besides just kind of showing them the visuals, understanding some of the concepts of the government that they'll be able to see when they go there, it goes hand in hand with 8th grade content. Now, some other things outside of academics that are important for the DC trip, life skills. For many of these kids, this is outside of a family vacation mode. They're now learning to go along with 4 busloads of other people with different opinions, with different everything. So, learning to get along with each other, learning to cooperate and work well with each other. It is great life-building skills. Also, independence along the way as well. So, those are also some great things that come out of this trip. As far as preparation for the trip, this has been ongoing for a long time, but throughout this year, there'll be lots of communication going your way, all calls, emails, paper students tend not to bring that slip home because they don't want that bottom part filled out by the parents. So it's not too late. If you didn't get that piece of paperwork at home, get in contact with us and we can talk about putting you on the list and all through that. But like I said, we'll have lots of meetings, lots of information being shared with you throughout the year. Tomorrow we're going to kind of introduce this stuff to the students in class tomorrow as well. So in your packet, you'll notice the itinerary. It's the second page in your staple packet. I wanted to kind of walk you through that a little bit. And for Mr. Mark, Glenn and I were a little rusty with this as well. This, having 2 years off, unfortunately, couldn't get back into the routine. But these plans have been made since last spring, basically, for this year. But I'm not going to read through it word for word, but I just want to kind of show you some of the things. And the first thing that always gets the students' attention is on that Tuesday. If you look at the time the students arriving at Dillard Middle School, that's always an eye-opening moment for them. They see 5:30 in the morning that they'll be here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But, starts off early. We are going back to the Tuesday through Friday routine. That was kind of traditional. Then we went away to the Monday through Thursday. And if you notice, the dates were a little bit earlier than we have gone in the past as well, the 17th through the 20th. But it'll be a Tuesday morning through Friday evening affair. But some of the things we're kind of coming back. Gettysburg. We haven't been to Gettysburg since I've been here. I haven't been to Gettysburg since 8th grade, to be honest with you. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But Gettysburg is kind of the highlights on the first day, stopping on the way over, and then hitting some of the Pentagon memorials and some of the nighttime memorials as well. And the pleasant checking in at the hotel, crossing our fingers, the air conditioning's working and all of that. But that's always a big thing too with the kids and having their own hotel room and all that stuff, getting the room keys. So the first day, a little bit of travel, not too bad. And one thing that we stress to the kids, and we'll continue to stress, we average between 8 and 9 miles walking a day on the BC trip. And they always look at you and go, okay. And we try to kind of prep them in the spring by taking them out a little bit on some walks, but I told them it's not a joke. I mean, you're going to be on your feet quite a bit. So they're usually energized the first day or two, and then we kind of hit the wall a little bit with that. Wednesday, Mount Vernon in the morning, and then you see some food truck opportunities here. One thing with the trips, especially for the newbie parents here, they get a combination of sometimes they'll actually be getting cash for their meals, like in that food truck opportunity, or sometimes they'll be given food vouchers. All of that is already paid for in your trip. That's not extra, on top of the expenses. But that's part of that independence thing. I've always noticed when there's a line of food trucks and the kids have to make choices of where they want to eat and how much they pay for things, stuff like that. So some kids are a little more adept at it than others. But the food trucks, the Holocaust Museum, what else? Washington monuments and things like that. The Twilight Tattoo, that was something that I did for the first time a few years ago. It was really neat. It's on the Fort Myers base, and it's a nice live musical performance. The kids really liked it when we took them a few years back. So that'll wrap up on Wednesday the 18th, heading into Thursday, getting into the White House, outside the White House, Lafayette Park and all of that. Arlington Cemetery, that's usually a pretty good hike on that one on Thursday as well, especially since we'll be hitting the wall. One thing we're going to look at Thursday, if you look at Thursday evening, 6:30, we have a couple different options there. In the past, we took the kids to a Washington Nationals game. It just depends on the Major League schedule and what time, if they are in town that night. The kids really like that, even if they aren't baseball fans, but just going there and having some time with their friends and getting away from us, talking to them about historical things. It's a nice break for them. The other option that we have on there, I've never did this, Mr. Bartoletta brought this up, and I know other 8th grade groups do this, the medieval times. So we're kind of, some of these things, like we'll tell the kids tomorrow, they're not carved in stone, they can change, So we have some flexibility as far as the schedule goes with that. And then that last day, the night before, making sure their bags are packed, Number one thing that's always nearly left behind, phone chargers. So, we're parents as well, so when the chaperones check the rooms that morning before, I wish I had a quarter for every phone charger I've saved for students that parents didn't have to buy for them later on. So Thursday night into Friday morning, we'll be packing up and getting ready to leave out. Friday, our traditional DC picture, lining up, that's always a big thing too, because we line up smallest to shortest. So a lot of the guys are trying to get up there on their tippy toes. It's not a big deal, but we line them up from the shortest to the tallest, and we go through the DC picture there. Another activity on Friday that's always makes chaperones a little nervous. They get to ride the metro on Friday. And we do it for two reasons. One, the metro can take us out of the city, and the buses will pick us up, so it avoids a lot of traffic and gets us back on time. And number two, I guess we're just crazy. We like to give the kids the experience of the metro, and it's not the metro that maybe we grew up with. It's clean. It's really nice. It's not anything like what you sometimes maybe think it would be. But it is quick hitting and making sure the kids get on there. In my experience, the only person that ever missed the metro was actually a dad chaperone, and we just kind of waved at him. He knew where he was going. He caught us on the next time around. But the kids always like that too. It's a neat experience to get them out of town. And then you see the arrival time at 10 o'clock. We are staying at a different hotel this year than previous years, but it's in Alexandria, and I'm sure it's going to be great. I didn't want to go through this word for word. I know you guys can read through the itinerary. If you have any questions on this, again, reach out to us. And like I said, things can change with this. Things open up, things close down. We've got different options that we can use on that. And I think that's my part of the show, so I told it would be quick today.
All right, guys. If you would flip to the next page, it's got the payment breakdown. Okay, and as Mr. Burchett went through the itinerary, and he mentioned several times it's subject to change, because the venues will change. Some things are etched in stone, like our hotel and our buses. Some of the activities that we have planned, with some are ticketed items that don't open up until like 30 or 60 days before we go. And it just becomes like a lottery to be able to get those tickets. So, some things may be tweaked in the spring, okay? But for the most part, it should hold true. All right, so when we look at the payment, the cost of the trip, right now the cost of the trip is $575. And that's all inclusive. So that pays for all food, that pays for the hotel, that pays for the busing, that pays for your tickets into all of the venues. So the only extra money the kids need to bring is if they want to have spending money, if they want to buy T-shirts, if they want to buy some type of souvenir. But we always are cautious with the parents. We tell them whatever you give them, more likely they're going to spend. Okay, so they're going to come home with bags of souvenirs that they may feel are important. Okay, so but keep that in mind. Everything on the trip is paid for with that $575. If the itinerary would change, then that might adjust the cost of the trip by $10 or $20, but it won't change drastically. Okay, and we want all of our kids to be able to go. That's our goal. We want to take all of our 8th graders. It is a great experience, as Mr. Burchett was talking about, but emphasize to your son and daughter that their conduct throughout the year cannot get in the way of them going on the trip. We don't want to jeopardize them. If they show that they cannot control themselves in the school environment, with their behavior, with their actions, then there's no way that we can take them to DC. Okay, so we have to understand that. All right, the fall fundraiser. This is Christmas. You're up real quick.
Hi, I'm Dawn Christmas. I'm your PTG president. We as a whole school will be kicking off a fundraiser on the 27th. We will be doing chocolate-covered pretzel rods this year. So for every box sold, the 8th graders will receive $28 per box. Now, the way we're doing this is anything an 8th grader sells will go into the kitty for the 8th grade trip. I do want to inform you, you all took part in a fundraiser when they were in 6th grade. I can't give you the exact dollar amount, but a portion of their 6th grade fundraising will also go towards this trip this year. So we've started to break up our fundraising, so what you sell in 6th grade will go towards 8th grade, what you sell in 7th grade goes towards 8th grade, but we didn't have a fundraiser last year, so it's all based off of 6th grade and 8th grade. I encourage you to please, please, please sell these pretzel rods. They're $1 each, they're all chocolate covered. There are 4 different coatings. We got sprinkles, toffee, chocolate chunk, and sea salt caramel. So, and we did an emergency vote today. The top selling 8th grader will get a free DC trip paid by the middle school PTG. So, please sell.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so that's definitely some great incentive. You know, and also just, you know, if all of our students work together, we can cut that cost of the trip, you know, by maybe $30. You know, on average, that's usually how we can cut it. And that does begin Monday, September 27th. That's when it's going to begin. So look for that. Okay. All right. Payment breakdown. November 1st, a deposit is due. $125 of the trip. And what that does is that secures a bus seat and a hotel room. Okay? And you can send in cash. You could send in a check, make sure it's paid out to Dover Middle School. And also, you can go online and do the pay schools. Okay? So you can send that deposit in any one of those manners. February 23rd is when the final payment, the rest of the money, will be due. Okay? And guys, if it is an issue, either by November 1st or February, getting that money in, we do have a little bit of wiggle room. If you can talk to us and let us know, you know, we can work with you. Okay? And we do, there is financial assistance available. Okay? It doesn't pay for all of the trip, but there is assistance. Okay? And the student has to have paid their deposit and also participated in the fundraiser. Okay? And then you can apply for assistance. Now, how that application is going to work, on January 21st, we'll send a final balance home with every student. And it will identify how much they earned from the fundraiser. It'll identify what they paid on the deposit and what they owe. At the bottom of that form will be a financial assistance request. Get that in by January 31st, and then we'll let you know. Usually, we send word back, in 2 weeks about, you know, what money will be coming your way. Okay, like I said, the financial assistance doesn't cover all of the trip, but it will definitely help out some. Okay? Parent participation. Usually we do take parents. Sometimes we take 10, sometimes we take 25. It's all based on how many they want to go and seats available. Because the students are first coming, you know, they're first, okay? Once we have all their money collected, then we'll open up any available seats to our parents, okay? And you know, parents, please understand, we've got a breakdown of the cost, where it says parent participants. So the adult cost, if you want your own room, it's $952. If you want to sing, okay? And then if you want a double, it's $706. If you want a triple, it's $624. And then if you want a quadruple, okay, then it's the same cost as what it costs the students. Okay, so, you know, we highly encourage you to, you know, when you decide that you want to go, also send in who you would like to room with and who you want to sit with on the bus. Okay? And those more information will be coming home later with that. Okay? Because, you know, again, we don't know how many seats will be available to parents until all the students have had the opportunity. Okay? We do have some forms up here in case you want to take one home today. And then that, parents, if you're interested in going, and you know, it is a first come, first serve for parents, I would send my deposit in with your child. okay? So that way, if we have 10 seats available to parents, the first 10 parents who send their deposit in will be the first 10 parents to go. Okay? Any questions on that front page? And parents, you're not on vacation. You are part of our trip. You are expected to go to the sites that we go to, eat in the restaurants that we eat at. You're part of our trip. You're part of the experience. Okay? All right. Okay. A couple other things we have that I want to mention. Refunds. Okay? If we are 30 days out, and this is from the tour company, Scholastica Travel, they're our tour company. If we are 30 days or more out and you choose to opt out of the trip, okay, you get 80% of your deposit back. Okay? So you're getting pretty much everything, because this is why they say the deposit. They haven't sent the rest of the money away. They still have the bulk of our money. Okay? So you would get 80% of your $125 deposit. Okay? If we are 23 days to 14 days away from the trip, then you would get 75% back of the total cost of the trip. Because at that time, all the money has been sent to all of our venues. By that time. Now, 13 days or closer to the trip, you would get 50% of the trip, of the total cost. That's if you come in and you decide that, you don't want your son or daughter to go on the trip. Okay? Now, if your son or daughter is removed from the trip, that will change a little bit. And that's out of our hands. At this point, we're dealing with the tour company. And I tell you what, guys, Scholastica Tours is a tremendous company. We've been with them for 40 years. And when we had to deal with COVID 2 years ago, our kids got all their money back. And that's another thing that, we'll talk a little bit right before we let you go about that refund when dealing with COVID. Okay? And there are circumstances. We've had a student have emergency surgery, or there was a family emergency and they couldn't get it. So we had to make adjustments with the company, and those students were able to get the bulk of their money back. Because situations arise that are out of our control. That's one reason why we stay with Scholastica, that travel company, because they've got our best interest in mind. Okay? Any questions about that refund? And again, guys, it comes down to this. The closer we get to the trip, the less money they have of ours. It's already been sent out. So then they've got to go through that other company, that venue to try to get the money. That's pretty tough to do. Because once they get their money in DC, they want to keep it. Okay? All right. Like I said, our tour company is Scholastica Travel. We've been with them for 40 years. They're very solid. They're definitely have weathered the storm that COVID has presented to them. They haven't buckled and they treated their schools well, and we feel like we want to stay with them. All right, conduct and sightseeing. Okay? As Mr. Bircher said, we get a taste of the city when we go. This is the first time a lot of our kids have traveled without their parents. So they're traveling on their own, which is a great experience, going into a larger city. Okay? They're responsible for themselves, and they're traveling with a group. Okay? We emphasize to them, we're walking in the city. It's one thing to be walking downtown Dover, but when you're walking in a city where there's a couple 100,000 people moving about, it's different. You got to take up half the sidewalk, and that's something that we practice with our kids on, how to walk. When we're traipsing 200 8th graders down Washington, D.C., we kind of got to take up half the sidewalk. Hotel behavior, cleaning up after the meeting. Okay? A lot of things we stress to the kid. Everyone goes on the tours. No one stays back at the hotel. No one stays on the bus. No one sits on a bench and waits for the group to come back. That can't happen for safety issues. Now, if we do get an issue with a student and they would get sick, we've had to keep some kids. The nurses, one of the nurses, and sometimes a teacher, has to stay back at the hotel. But the only thing is, guys, that means one less teacher, that's one less set of eyes on our kids as we move about the city. Okay? Trip removal. We've had to send kids home. Hasn't happened very often, but we've had to send some kids home, and their parents, you guys need to come to DC and get them. If there is vandalism, if they are putting themselves or others in a harmful way, if they are not following, if they are being disruptive, it's a situation where we'll call you. We had to call 1 year, this probably maybe 10 years ago. We had some students that snuck some cigarettes in a radio. We caught them smoking in their room. They didn't think we were going to smell that. And we had to call parents, and this was like 1 a.m. And they had to come and get them the next day. So, again, we stress to the kids, that don't put yourself or your parents in that situation. Because you're not going to get money back. All right, our buses. We will use Cardinal Bus Company this year. They are charter buses. There is Wi-Fi on the buses. There's a charging station on the buses. And they're our lifeline, guys. They take us through the city. We only use them once we get there. We only use them when we have to. We like to travel by foot as much as we can. It just saves time. All right? The kids are allowed to have snacks on the bus, so they'll tell you about that in the spring. Limited liquids in a plastic bottle that's resealable. We do have a restroom on the bus, but, that stays with us until we get back to Dover. So we tell the kids that is emergency use only. Okay? Their bus partner. They will choose a bus partner. And then we'll start talking to the kids about this. And this, that'll be one of their roommates. And then we will give them 2 others. And we caution the kids that if you make a commitment, if I tell Mr. Hall, hey, all right, I'll be your bus partner, and then I tell Mr. Bircher, I'll be your bus partner. And then in December, when it comes time to actually sign up, then one of the 3 of us will be out of line. So what we stress to the kids is start having that conversation with your classmates. You can have your bus partner can be anyone in the 8th grade. It doesn't matter by team. But when you actually say, okay, I'll be your bus partner, hold true. And also, you want to make sure your bus partner is going to go and is not going to get kicked off the trip. Because then you're stuck. And then Mr. Bircher and I are going to have to give you a bus partner. And more likely, it's not going to be your best friend. Okay? So, it is a decision that they won't have to actually sign up for it until December, but they need to start having the compensation. So they're not the odd person out. Okay? All right, hotel. Got a new hotel this year. It's in Alexandria. It's renovated. We are very fortunate the last couple of years. We stayed at really nice hotels. Believe it or not many hotels are willing to house 200 8th graders on the Washington, D.C. trip. So we've been fortunate that we've had nice hotels. We've had clean towels, clean rooms, toilets at work. Yeah. We've been in a situation where, 10 rooms, the water didn't work and the toilets wouldn't flush. All right? With 200 8th graders. So, yeah. So we upgraded our hotel. So, we've seen this one online. There are 2 queen beds in every room. Okay? So everyone sleeps in a bed. This is what we tell the kids. Everyone has paid the same rate. You cannot force everybody to sleep in the bathtub. You cannot force anybody to sleep on the floor with the blanket. Everyone has access to the beds. Okay? And once they're in their rooms, and we chaperone, so we take them from the buses to their rooms. Once they're in their rooms, they're in their rooms. There is security hired by our tour company. There's 2 adults that stay up all night in the hallway. And usually our boys are on one hallway and the girls are on the other. And there should be other schools there also, but not mixed in with ours. And the general public is not mixed in with our rooms either. They try to separate those for their sake, not necessarily for ours, but they don't want to be around 8th graders. Okay? And how this works is we put them in their room, and then we'll go check on them. Like, let's say we get back to the hotel at 9 o'clock. Usually by 9:30, teacher will go and knock on the door of the room, make sure everybody's okay. We like to go in, we like to make sure we have eye contact, make sure, we see no one's crying or no one's upset. If they need anything, we can get it for them. If they need ice, If anything's not working in the room, we can take care of that. And then we'll let them know that, okay, we're going to come back and get you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. We'll give you a wake-up call, and then we'll walk you down to breakfast. Because we eat breakfast every morning at the hotel. Okay, so the kids aren't roaming the halls. They're not gone from one room to the other. When they're in their rooms, they're in their rooms. And that's safety, not only for our kids, but also just security within the hotel of the guests that they have. All right? And then if there is a loud noise, they'll usually come and get Mr. Birch or myself, and that's not a pleasant conversation. Okay? Any questions so far? Now, they have 2 other roommates other than their bus partner. So what happens is this. Once we have all the buses filled up, Mr. Birch and I will sit down and we'll formulate the rooms. Okay? And then that's final, guys. You know, we post those rooms. Usually, we'll leave it on Tuesday, we'll post them Friday or Monday, so they know who's in their rooms. And it doesn't work out that you're in rooms with your 4 best friends. Usually one room may be the luck of the draw and work out that way. But usually, you're with people that are on your bus. Okay? And you may or may not know them. You may or may not have a friendship with them. And that's part of the experience. Is getting to know other people. So, you know, and every year we usually get a phone call that night. And they want us to change the rooms. But please understand this. If we change a room for one student, then we have to open that up for all students. And that's a tough phone call. You know, if we've got to or talk to some other kids or talk to parents about changing that room. And we feel pretty confident that all the kids that we take to DC are quality Nova kids. And we would never put your child, because my children go, they've gone, okay? We would never put them in harm's way. We wouldn't, okay? So if there is an issue with your child and another student, we need to know beforehand. It can't be after the fact. Okay? Just because, you know, your son or daughter is a little upset with the mix in their room. All right? So the sooner we know about that, the better. Okay? All right. Meals. Our kids they never go hungry when we're in DC. You know, a lot of opportunities to eat. If there is a dietary issue where your son or daughter needs a certain diet, let us know. You can leave us a note tonight or email us. When we know about it in Dover, we can plan for it. Whatever it is. But when we're in DC, if we find that out, then our hands are tied. Okay? So, and every meal we have, there's options. There are plenty of options for the students to choose what they want to eat. Okay? And we always, you know, we warn them because they've got access to a lot of different foods. If you shock your body's going to shock you. Okay? So don't freelance and think you're going to drink pop at every meal and, you know, eat a bunch of junk because it'll catch up to you, unfortunately. Okay? And again, but back to the food, any dietary concerns, you know, please let us know. Okay? And again, the earlier the better. You know, because, you know, we got this, there's a lot to get ready and plan for the trip. And we don't have a lot of time to do it. Okay? Safety. So again, you know, our number one goal is to provide a great experience for your son and daughter. We love to go on the trip. And all of the teachers that go from the middle school really enjoy the trip also. And there are a variety of safety measures. Every student has an ID card from Scholastica, the travel company, that in case they would get separated from the group, this is what I do, these are the numbers I call. I always give my bus my cell phone number. Okay? And I'm like, if you get separated from the group, call me. Okay? If you just want to have a conversation about the weather, don't call me. Okay? All right? They will take their cell phones. And their cell phones are for their cameras. You know, and again, it's one of those situations. Part of it, you've got to teach them how to use technology responsibly. Okay? That's part of it. It's their rule. But, you know, if we see them texting, if they're trying to walk down the street and text at the same time, we'll warn them and then we'll take their phone. Okay? We talk to them about not taking pictures of homeless individuals in the city. Okay? We have to use it responsibly. Use it as a camera. Call mom or dad at night. Please don't call your child in the middle. We may be at the Tomb of the Unknown, or we may be in the National Cathedral, and then the student's phone goes off because they're getting a call from mom or dad. Okay? So please respect those hours. Okay? That phone, again, is for pictures, and it's also communication with the buses. We do reminds. I think that by this point, everyone's familiar with a remind. We'll have a remind for the trip. My wife usually runs that. She'll post pictures of what's going on throughout the course of the day and the course of the week. And every bus will have a reminder. That way we can send an instant message to all of our kids about, okay, the bus is leaving in 10 minutes, be out in front of the museum. Okay? Or we send them a reminder in the morning. It's just another safety measure in a way that we can communicate with our kids. We do have meetings. Like, we're going to have a meeting with all of our 8th graders tomorrow in their classes. Just kind of introduce the itinerary and talk to them about the cost, and just some other ideas. We'll meet with them in the spring several times to talk about the rules and regulations, to talk about choosing a bus partner and the itinerary, and safety issues. There will be 15 teachers from the middle school to go. Mr. Seibert, our assistant principal, will go, and 2 school nurses will go this year. Okay? So, it's, and again, you'll have our phone numbers and our emails. So if you need to get a hold of us, to get a hold of your child, please do. And at any time, if you have questions throughout the year, if you have concerns throughout the year, contact us, call us, email us, come in and talk to us, whatever you feel comfortable with us. Okay? Because, we understand that, you are placing a tremendous responsibility with us to take your child to D.C. It's not like we're going to Roscoe Village for the afternoon. All right? We're going for 4 days and 3 nights. We understand. Okay? COVID. As of right now, if we would be leaving Tuesday, we would have to wear masks on the bus. Okay? At CDC. Okay? And again, this stuff with COVID, it's not, Jeff and Doug coming up with these regulations. That's not how it works. It's, we're going through the CDC through Dover City Schools. So, that would be, and they would have to wear masks in the museums. Okay? But we know that's changing daily, right? So we will have a better grip on that. We will have a better handle on that in the spring. Okay? Some things will be just recommendations. Some things will be mandates. And that's just, that's out of our hands. Those decisions are handed down to us. Okay? And again, that's, all kids' safety is the number one idea on the list. Okay? And again, any changes with that, we'll send home in the spring. Okay? A COVID refund. And Scholastica wanted me to share this with you. If there is an outbreak and Dover City School says, you know what, we're not going, okay, then we should get 100% of our trip. As long as nothing has been sent to any other non-refundable vendors. Okay? Like, the last time we had sent money out, in 2 years ago, the trip was canceled before they sent our final payment. So our students were able to get that money. Okay? That money back. All right? Like I said, Scholastica has been a very supportive, they're tried and tested, that they're going to work with us. Okay? All right, one more thing. Last thing, we asked you to take one of these. This is the MAR, the Medication Administration Record. So if your son or daughter has any prescriptions that they will take with them, they need to give to the school nurse. And this form, this is a copy. We will send the originals home with all students, and usually we send it home in March. Okay? So if you have any over-the-counter other than ibuprofen, Tylenol, Benadryl, and Tums, which our nurses can give out, if there's any prescription or over-the-counter other than that, then it will need to be in the original bottle in a baggie with your son or daughter's name on it, given to the school nurse. And we usually collect that at least a week before we go. Because guys, our nurses, they're incredible. You know, they've got to have that organized by bus, by room. And they've got to be able to get that medication to your son and daughter. And they spend a lot of time getting that organized. Okay? So we will give you plenty of time. And this is going to need to be signed by the physician who prescribed that medication. So, you know, usually we get this out to parents in March. So you have plenty of time to get in to see your doctor, to get this signed, and to get everything squared away with it. Okay? All right. I know that's a lot, guys. It is. It's a lot. All of the forms that we have tonight that we gave you will be posted on the middle school site on the DMS tab for Washington, D.C. Okay? The itinerary, the payment plan, all of this information. We'll post that on that site. Questions that you have? All right. No questions? Mr. Bircher, do you have anything else? Are we good? All right. Guys, I appreciate you coming in. I really do. Again, if you have questions, call us, email us, set up a meeting. Okay? All right. Have a great day.